everybody. Hey, Aqua. Time for the 5 o'clock shadow. Today we were with Gil. I'm not sure how to pronounce Guilford. Guilford. Uh, Noel. Oh, Gifford. 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 And I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name because I'm not looking at it. Oh, Roberts. Robert. Gifford Roberts. About his comic book Dynamic Rodents, and that is on Indie Planet. This so you can actually get this right away. You can just order it off of Indie Planet and get it sent to you. You know, so that's a good thing. Normally we have a crowdfunding person here, so you usually have to wait a bit. But now for Gifford, you can actually get it pretty much right away as soon, with the shipping. But anyways, um, hello, Gifford. Although we've said hello off air, but for the thing. So how did you get into comic books? Ah, cool. Ah, okay. Yeah. I guess you're talking the one in the 80s or a later one? Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, no guest audio. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Want to try and talk now? Okay. No, I was just getting you to talk to see whether things. Yeah, I hear you, Jr. I'm trying to figure out why there's no. Want to try and talk again? Just whatever. I'm just keep talking about whatever. I might have to get you.
Like the wet barbecue, like with the tomato-based sauce, and that's good stuff. Uh,
Okay.
and my comic is Dynamic Rodent.
Okay. Can you guys hear him now? You should be able to hear him now, I think. I've seen some stuff coming through. And hello, JR. How are you today? Okay, just waiting to see.
Is it
Okay.
working?
Yeah, they said got it. Okay, so we're going to have to start back at that question of how did you get into
I
comics?
can't remember the question.
Well, the question was how
Oh,
did you
comics. How did I learn comics?
yeah, how did you get
Right?
into comics?
Well, probably when my mother or father bought some comics for me at a grocery store, I suppose, but long before I could read. But really, I don't think my interest in comics really, as like once I could read, really was started until after I found a Ninja Turtle comic after learning about the TV show in I think 87 or 88 when the cartoon came out.
Yeah, so the original cartoon. That's
Yeah,
what before we were found out we didn't have any audio on your side. That's what I was trying to figure out whether it was the first one or one of the other ones after the first one.
it was the one that God, I usually know this. The I can't suddenly I can't remember the guy's name, but it was they made it bait to promote the Playmates toys.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. I like that cartoon. I watched it. I would say well, I guess as a kid. Well, maybe not as a kid because I would have been in my late teens when it came out.
Well,
So
that's still kind of a kid.
yeah. Um, So, what got you into wanting to do your own comics?
Okay, good thing I had this ready to go. when I was a little kid, around the same time I just mentioned, my first drawing, incidentally.
A little bit over,
There we go.
a little bit further.
Can y'all see it?
You can see about half of it or 2/3 the other way. So it covers
This
your
way?
whole. Yeah, you're going the right way. A little bit further.
What? Okay. This way?
No, the other way. You got to go a lot further over, I should say.
Can you see
There
it?
you, yeah, there you go. Whatever you see in probably in the monitor that you're looking at is what I see, if you can see it, because that's in front of your face.
Okay. Well, I can't see the
Yeah,
monitor.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
okay, cool.
okay, this way. So now
Yeah,
this way you can see it. So
yeah.
when I was a little kid, waiting for my mom and dad to get home, they were gone somewhere. I decided I was gonna draw. I think it was Yosemite Sam. So I
Ah,
started drawing Yosemite Sam. Realized I didn't know what he looked like, and then tried to draw like he kind of looks like a raccoon. So I started drawing a raccoon, and I was like, "Wait a minute, no! I've got an idea!" And then I put a cape on him, and then drew some bat-winged roaches for villains, and I was like, I've got a comic book character. And I
ah,
named him Dynamic Rodent.
cool, cool, cool. So, was it at that point that you wanted to make stories of dynamic rodent?
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, how did you go about, I guess, writing? I guess that means you're the writer. There's a question. Are you the writer, artist? What do you do on for your comic here?
I did the cover this way.
Yeah,
I did the cover to the first issue, but outside of that, I didn't really draw much of the story. But I did write it, and I've been writing it, the stories, various stories of it, for several years. Obviously, I mean, this is over like 30 years old of the character. But
yeah.
here's the pile of scripts that I've written so
Oh,
far.
wow, that is a lot of scripts. Definitely. And
So
oh
I've been
my,
working on it for a long time.
yeah. I know that feeling. I've been working on my scripts and stuff like that for quite some time. So yeah. So you're the writer.
Yes, sir.
So what are dynamic rodents' powers? Does he have powers?
Not really. The main thing that differentiates him from everyone else is he mysteriously gets turned into a mouse one day, and like when he wanders into a factory, and then suddenly he becomes a mouse boy and soon realizes that he's gonna, instead of going to the hospital, and here's him when he's being turned into it,
Cool,
instead of going to a hospital he decides to become a superhero. There's him putting on his costume,
cool.
or wearing his little costume, but no one notices he's a mouse boy until he puts on his costume, for reasons that are not really revealed for a while. So the
Okay.
first two stories don't have that, but
Eh,
that's sort of the comedic effect. But also he points out, well, it makes sense. I mean, some superheroes can hide their identity just by a mask over their eyes or changing their voice and wearing glasses.
yeah, like Superman, right?
Yeah,
For just putting the glasses on, of course.
and
Um,
since he's a little kid, he's 9 years old, so he doesn't have access to the funds needed to be, have a bat cave or anything. So he
yeah.
makes his costume out of some bath towels, and his mask is made of his dad's dress sock with holes that he cut into him for like so he could see through it.
Uh, so he becomes very resourceful. Well,
Yeah,
that's good. Being a hero, you do need to be resourceful at times, of course. So he's got no powers. You're saying he's 9 years old. Um, so what's his idea of being a superhero? You know what?
well,
I
he
mean,
has. Well, he. It starts out in the first story. he tries to figure things out. He at first he tries to stop some robbers in in a gas station that's closed, and he goes in there and then ends up running in fear, and then that's his first time. Second time he tries
Yeah.
to stop some school bullies that are like trying to steal some kids lunch money on the way home from to school or home from school, I can't remember. Oh, and instead of saving the day, the kid being bullied yells, "Oh my God, what are you?" And then the one of the bullies yells out, "Dad, help!" And he pulls out a shotgun and shoots and chases Dynamic Rodent away. So that doesn't go so hot.
It
So
sounds
his first
instead of
couple outings aren't really that successful, but he gets
yeah.
there.
Yeah. So it sounds like at first it's more the villain striking fear into him instead of him striking fear into the villain.
Oh, that doesn't change for a few stories.
Oh, that's all right.
But
That's all
he
right.
he tries, and at the end of the first story, he does come up and tries to save the day, and he actually stops the bad guy. But there's that leads to ramifications in the next story.
Oh, that's cool. Well, it should always lead to some sort of ramification, some way, somehow. That's
Yeah.
the moving the plot along. I think, as they might say.
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned this to you before we started, but I kind of look at it as what would happen if you did a show kind of like Powerpuff Girls, but that had actual stakes where things went wrong. And it's like, what would happen if a kid really did become a superhero? Would it be that easy for him, or
Yeah,
would tragedy and hilarious instances happen?
yeah. A little bit like I'm not sure whether you've seen the movie Kick Ass.
Yeah, but much younger
Yeah,
version and
yeah,
much less violent at first.
yeah, yeah.
It
Of
does
course.
get violent.
Yeah, well, it's a comic book. It's superheroes and villains and all that. So it's got to get a little bit violent, right? To do
Yeah, it
that.
doesn't have to. Archie doesn't always get violent, but
Yeah, but Archie's not a superhero book usually.
well, that is very true. I mean
And
that
hell,
toward at the end, if I like at the end of the story of the first one, I know I don't want to show it to you because that'll be a spoiler, but
yeah,
he's like after the day is saved, quote unquote, and he's looking, he's back in his regular clothes, and he's looking at his hand, and it's covered in blood. His face is covered in blood, and he's like, "That's not my blood. I caused someone to bleed." And he kind of freaks out a little bit.
yeah. So I guess he's not he's expecting superhero life to be easy, and he finds out being a superhero is not as easy as it looks in a cartoon.
Yep.
And hello, Captain Finity. How are you today? Uh, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Guilford here, or Gifford. Sorry,
Gifford.
Gifford.
It's all right.
I was just seeing the eyes as L or the eyes as else
You're not the
before.
only one to do that. Do not think you're the only one to ever do that. Most people do that.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm not feeling too bad over it. So who? I guess who's your favorite superhero?
Well, Dynamic Rodent, I'd have to say.
Okay,
But outside of the one I created,
yeah,
that's an interesting question. Usually I would have said Ninja Turtles and Leonardo, but from Ninja Turtles. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Can we put in anime and manga characters as
yep.
superheroes? Okay,
Whichever
Naruto.
Naruto, yeah,
Oh, actually, no, no.
Naruto.
Backtrack. Gara from Naruto.
Okay, now why?
Well, why? Because I can kind of relate to the sadness that he felt. Well, Naruto had it too, but I feel like Gara's felt a much more sad and a much more triumphal end. Like when he became Kazakage or whatever it's called.
Uh huh.
I was really impressed by that. Plus, he's got cool powers.
Well, that's good reason for sure. Hey, Sketchbook, what's up? I'm just interviewing Gifford here about his book over on Indie Planet, Dynamic Rodent. We're probably going to be going over there soon to take a look uh, at it and all that. And so, Who is your favorite villain and why?
I could also say Gara for that. Uh, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna say, okay. Are you familiar with Usagi Yojimbo?
Uh, I know him from Ninja Turtles.
Okay, well, there in the comic book that it was originated in, I think one of the actually, I think he was actually featured in one of the cartoons, the CGI one
Yep.
would be Jay, the demon that fights Naruto or fights Usagi.
Okay.
If I remember, he's got like a black spear. Can't
He
remember
says,
much.
I've watched a bit of, um, uh, anime and read a little manga, but I don't, not completely familiar with it. But I know there's
Well,
heroes and
Usagi's not
villains.
manga though.
Okay, he's not.
No, it's made by a Japanese American named Stan Sakai, and he actually is based. It's a Japanese samurai rabbit, but it's actually made in America, and it's more traditional American style cartoon
Oh, okay.
drawing.
Okay, because I remember him in Ninja Turtles, so I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he was
oh,
definitely. Both of them were in Ninja Turtles. Both Usagi and the villain Jay, and the one that was on Nickelodeon.
let's see. My sketchbook says Gar is a good character.
Gara.
Uh, Gara, yeah, Gara, sorry. And then says Yusaki Yujimbo. Captain Finity says Yusaki. And then Captain Finity says the whole episode of Gone with the Wind. Fun.
Is that
I
the
don't
one
know.
he was in?
Uh, they might know better than me. Like I said, I like some anime or manga. I haven't read a lot of it, or watched a lot of it, but you know, there's people out there that know more than me, which is all right. And I'll count them in for the heroes and the villain stuff. I might not know what you're talking about when you're talking about it, but I trust you know what you're talking about.
I rarely know what I'm talking about. I just keep talking and hope something that makes sense comes out.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. I think we all do at times. Okay,
And actually, that's sort of my comic. Hopefully, it makes sense, and hopefully, something good comes out.
for sure, for sure. Okay.
Um, I what you were asking about other stories. If you remember did you ever see the first Ninja Turtle movie from like
Yeah,
1990 or
yeah. I
so?
see. I seen the first live action one. Yeah.
Well, if you remember the scene where Raphael was on the rooftop fighting the foot while the other turtles were
In
like
April's
talking
apartment.
about, yeah, like people have commented about how my tone jumps in my comic from serious to drama to action to comedy too much, and it's the tonal shift, like tonal whiplash, kind of.
Yeah.
I look at it kind of like that. The humor when the I wanted to bring this up. The humor that like with the turtles talking about where Raph is and such, it makes the tension of the other part where he's fighting the foot more dramatic, and it makes it more uneasy. So I think that's something that I think works in my stories. Some parts of them.
Yeah. That's a good thing to go with too. Trying to create tension by having two different things going on, two different spots
Also,
or
I
whatever.
wanted to read. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, no, go ahead.
I wanted to read what I think is my favorite funny part from the first story. The babysitter and Joey, the main character, are watching like TV, and there's an infomercial on, and the guy the infomercial says, "Do you like wasting your money on stupid things that don't work, but you saw them on TV? Then do we have a deal for you today?" And then the
That-
babysitter says, "Huh, an honest infomercial. Who'd have thought?"
yeah, that is a bit funny. I just read that. Like I said before we came on air, I'm about halfway, just over halfway through reading the first issue, and I'm liking what I've read so far. You know, so we're
So you
gonna.
haven't gotten to the actual violent part yet, I guess.
No, no. Just I think I just read that page that you're talking about, or maybe the page after that.
All right, well then the one they're like 2 pages later is when the violent part starts.
Ah, okay. So I'm gonna take
So
this
you're
one.
close.
Yeah. So here we have your comic up. I know you can't see it, but here we have. Well, you can see
I'll
it anyway.
trust you.
Yeah, we have your uh thing up on Indie Planet here. Actually, I need to just so I can see the chat. I need to pop out the chat while going through this. So, and well, you know what I should do too? I should grab the link to it and put it in the chat and pin
I
it.
think I sent it to you.
Yeah, you did. I have it in the description, but just so people can get to it easier, I'm putting it in the chat on YouTube and pinning it to the top. So if anybody wants to check it out as we are checking it out or looking through it, they can. Okay, so live chat. There we go. Captain Finity says, I have a question about dynamic rodent.
Shoot,
Okay.
let me hear it. What is it?
Yeah. Oh, you got to give him a sec with that. Okay. So,
Oh, because it's on stream. That's right.
yeah. Well, also, he's typing in the chat. He typed that in the chat, and now we've responded, and there's a little bit of a delay. He says,
Yeah, I've never dealt with that. I guess it would be a little bit of a delay. I hadn't thought of that.
yeah. After dynamic rodent, after turning into a human mouse boy and deciding to become a self-styled superhero called Dynamic Rodent, Joey Blayton's dad goes out of town, leaving a disappointed Joey being looked after by a babysitter. Oh, when a lonely fourth grade boy gets into a strange accident that causes him to turn into a human mouse boy instead of going to the hospital for help, as any normal, rational person would do, he stupidly decides to become a superhero. Both comedic and tragic events ensue. Captain Finity, per who he is, asks which years or year is this set in?
Like, what grade is he in, or what years the story take place?
Yeah, what year does the story take place?
That's an interesting question. I kind of just say modern times whenever that is, but I mean, the story itself was written over like almost 20 years ago, and then it was drawn a year ago, but with the idea of making it today's time. But it's kind of a sliding scale. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Uh,
And be
that's a
warned,
really good question. That's a really, really good question.
and yes, it's a good and it's a pretty good answer. But be warned, Captain Finity now is going to bounce on you.
I will say that this in my defense, because I do not set like dates like that. I do reference things that actually happened, but usually if I reference an actual historical event, it'll be within the time frame usually that something will be public domain, so I can actually use a quote without getting in trouble.
Yeah. Well, if it's
So
a quote from a real life person on something that's happened in modern day, you don't even have to wait for it to be public domain. All that there's the
yeah, but
fair
I
use.
want to be careful rather than.
Yeah.
Also, I want to give it more of a like classic feel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm used to reading books that are older, so I would like actual books, not comics.
Yeah.
So like I do tend to want to stay with public domain, and I'll actually use an example because in the second story, I open it up and it says Louisville, Kentucky. A person's life doesn't always go the way they'd like. And
Yeah.
then it turned. Then I quote: "Every blessing has its price. Every misfortune its advantage." And that was written. That was said by Caleb Powers, the guy who shot and killed our governor in like 1900.
Ah.
Well, not your governor. You're not. You're not a Kentuckian.
Yeah. But yeah, I get what you mean. The Kentucky
Yeah,
governor. Captain
yeah.
Finney says, "Doctor No." I think that's James Bond was set in modern times, but that was 1962. That's actually why I
That,
asked. He says,
interesting. I never knew there was a dynamic rodent Bond connection, but I should have realized it.
"Yeah." Well, Doctor No might not be Bond, but
Oh no, isn't he one of the villains?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm
But
not.
there may be another Doctor No.
Yeah,
I don't know. I know Ron Paul, one of the congressmen, was known as Doctor No because he would always vote no on bills. So I don't know.
yeah. So this is a standard full color comic with a 40-page count.
It's kind of longer than most comics, and the
Yeah,
second one's 80 pages. So
yeah. And it's a print on demand, and also you got the digital download. It's $5 for the print on demand plus whatever's shipping, and the digital download is 99 cents. So it's not a bad price. It's a pretty good price for especially the pages, number of pages, and all that. I know you were showing off the book a little there. I'm gonna switch over to my not StreamYards. Do I even
oh
my Clip
yeah, you just
Studio?
mentioned my book, so I'll show it again. This is the cover. I guess you guys are seeing it on Indie Planet though.
Yeah. Let's see. Clip Studio. Let's bring this up to the top here. So I've brought a bunch of the pages into my Clip Studio. So
Okay. Wait, Clip Studio, is that the one that used to be Manga Studio?
something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I used to have that.
Yeah. It's where I do most of my stuff. Well, my coloring and all that for my thing. So I've got a few of the pages here. I didn't grab a lot. Um, wasn't sure whether we need a lot, but I can upload a few more. So of course I've got the cover here um, for everybody to see. And let's see, we got. I think it would be page 8. So you see him. I think in his costume for the first time,
Yep.
or about at the gas. Oh, he's at the gas station area.
No, in 8, he's in his bedroom showing off his costume for the first time.
Okay, well this I see the gas station there. So Captain
On
Finnety's.
page 8?
Well, I could be wrong about page 8.
You're
Uh,
talking about page 10,
okay, maybe it's page 10.
the one where the gas station thing starts.
Yeah. Okay, so
Uh,
my
the,
bad.
no, 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 no. I don't. I'm trying. I'm not meaning to be rude.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
apologize.
Oh no, no, I'm not thinking you're rude. I'm just saying my bad as not trying to make myself feel bad or whatever.
Okay,
Just said my mistake in calling out the
I
pages
got
wrong.
you.
um, Captain Finney says it's the important difference between a period movie and a historical movie. Yeah, all stories set in
What
modern.
is?
The he's talking about
The
saying the modern time thing.
oh, when it like he's referencing the previous question of when it took. When's the setting? When's it
Yeah,
set in?
yeah.
Oh, what was he? What did he say again?
He said that it's the important difference between a period movie and a historical movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's most certainly true.
Um, then he says all stories set in modern time become period pieces in time. True.
That's true, but I mean, there's also Yeah, no, no, I take that. I was gonna disagree a little, but no, he's absolutely right,
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Uh, my friend John Dillard is in the chat and he says, "Is this a children's story?"
If I had kids, I'd let them read it. It does get a little violent. I have a rule that there'll never be any nudity or sexual situations. I don't think that would fit at all in the comic, and I would think that'd be gross and inappropriate. There's no cursing in the comic, but there is blood and violence, and I think that should be with that in mind. I think each parent should make that decision.
He asks, "Does it have a theme?"
Okay, can you? Yeah, it has a theme. I'm not.
Can you
You
elaborate what
mean
you
like
mean,
that?
John? By theme, like it's a superhero, a kid wanting to be a superhero, trying to be a superhero. So that's a theme, I guess, of it, right?
It's like kind of also the beginnings and endings of friendships, the struggle like of dealing with the world. I mean, there's a lot of themes in it. Each story doesn't have the same theme that it covers, but the overall series is the about making friends and losing friends and what. And then, sort of, in as a side note, there's also a superhero that he's trying to be.
Yeah.
I
Captain
had
Finnegan.
my colorist for the second issue actually described my comic less, at least the first two stories, and she's now working on the third with me. Francie Goovy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correct, and if she watches this, I apologize if I butcher your name. Francie Guvia, and she said that Francine Guvia, I think. She said that it's more of a slice of life than a superhero story. That's kind of a side note for much of the story,
Uh-huh.
especially the second one.
Captain Finnegan asks, "Does any character say you dirty rat?"
Actually, in a later story, I think no. Actually, there is one time where there's like in a future story, long later on, the governor of Kentucky meets the dynamic rodent, and he goes, "Oh my God, a giant rat! Do you want some cheese? You like cheese, don't you?" And Dynamic Rodent says, "Yes," and that's a hurtful stereotype, but yes, give me some cheese, please.
uh,
But no, I never thought of the dirty rat thing. That feels too on the nose.
yeah. Hey, you got to be on the nose sometimes.
Yeah,
Dillard says, "I guess what I mean is, does it have an overarching theme or random collection of stories?"
no, it's got an overall. It's not random. They're all connected. I mean, to one degree or another, they build on each other, and there is a overall story, an overall villain, an overall climax. I mean, I haven't written the climax, but I know what'll happen in it. And I build that. You need to have the end of the series in mind before you start the actual first story,
Uh,
or at
so,
least unless you're doing DC or Marvel characters.
yeah. So you're planning on only so many issues for this?
No, I don't have a set number, but I mean, I read in an interview once one of the image creators. I think it was, I want to say Todd McFarlane, but it may have been, I can't remember the guy that created Savage Dragon,
I don't think
Lawson. But he said that whichever one it was said that you need to have an ending in mind so you can build toward it and don't get too off track.
yeah. JR says, "Does the governor offer the black rat grape pop and fried chicken?"
That's kind of racial and no.
Uh, Dillard says Eric Lawson, and Captain Finity says you got to
Eric
know.
Lawson, yes.
Captain Finity says you got to know your ending.
Yeah.
And I've got page 14 up here now. For people to see. And Captain Finity says, "Look how George R. R. Martin ruined his book series and his life by not knowing the ending?
I don't know. We'll never. I don't. Haven't read those, but I feel like we still haven't read the ending because he's taking a while on those.
JR says, is there any use of symbols?
Yes, like symbolism or actual symbols, like insignia.
Yeah. Okay. We'll wait for JR on that. Dillard says Larson, not Lawson. Um, and how old is the main character? Asked
Hold
Dillard.
on. What's this? Real quick. Symbols. I made got a couple stickers of them.
Okay. Here.
This is the. Can you see it?
Yeah. Give me a sec for people to see that. StreamYard. Uh, not Discord. Camera. Ah, there we go. And I think I need to come over to StreamYards because you're blacking out. There we go.
Did you get it?
Yeah, people are seeing it now. Okay, yeah, I see this sticker.
Yeah,
We
that would be the bad guy bar, and it's if you look at it, it's called the bar is called Grant's Wrathskiller, and the symbolism behind that is that with the name Grant, the eagle is from General Grant from the Civil War. His headquarters, his headquarters flag had that on it, and it's sitting on the goldenrod, cross goldenrod, which are the flower, or well, yeah, I guess they're flowers, vine that are on the Kentucky state flag, which is right there. Wait, there.
okay, cool. Uh,
And he's drinking the Eagles smoking a cigar and like Grant did and drinking booze. And this is dynamic rodent symbol.
uh, cool. Just
Oh
DR
yeah,
in a
I
circle.
got several.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He was saying both symbols and symbolic situations. Jr. To
yeah.
answering here.
I think there's a little of both. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I don't think so. Or I know it doesn't. Captain Infinity, and I'm not sure whether. And probably not. I don't think this falls under CG.
Like computer generated image.
No, no. Comicsgate.
I heard you someone mention that in your other interview.
Yeah,
I heard of the term. I don't know enough about it to even make a stand on that. I don't know anything about it
yeah,
really.
yeah, and that's no problem. There's some creators that come on, or probably a lot come on that are Comicsgate, and there's what it actually stands for. Unfortunately, a lot of the media or a lot of some other creators try and say it stands for something that it doesn't. You know, it's basically about giving good, creating a good product and giving good customer service. That's what it boils down to. In
I
the
will say I don't know much about this and I do have strong political opinions, but I feel like the comic is not the place for that and I wanted to keep that kind of separate from my stories.
Yeah, and that's a lot of part of, for the most part, to a part of it, keeping sort of that is. But there has been political stuff in comics over the years, but
Yeah,
it's
but
not.
my
But
like I
yeah,
shouldn't I don't want to like alienate one side and or by taking a stance that I don't shouldn't have I wouldn't have to take
yeah,
and
yeah, and I agree with that. I'm just saying, but a lot of the comics nowadays just throw it in your face. Just preach at you with it. But if you want to have it and not preach at somebody, that's fine. But like you said, you're not
no, I
throwing
preach
the.
at people, but not related to that. I do get a little preachy in some of the stories, but I try to make it as I try to make both sides. If I'm doing a political issue, I try to have both sides represented fairly.
Yeah,
Although I will say this, I do pretty much one series of stories. I take a hard stand against the French Revolution, and I don't care who knows it.
yeah.
But I
Uh,
mean, outside of that,
Dillard says, question for the creator. What is the coolest, most breathtaking, moving, mind bending, and visual amazing movie you have ever seen?
Visually, hmm, interesting question. I don't go and see movies much, but if I were to say, you know, I got two answers, and I'm an old fart, so I'd have to say the first Ninja Turtle movie had great costumes, as did the movie E.T. I remember being really impressed with how cool they looked when I was a kid.
Uh-huh. JR says, when you introduce a new character to your story or show two characters meeting the first time, do you introduce themes that appear later?
Yes. Uh, Let me think of an example. Uh, Later on, in the first two stories, this character doesn't appear till much later, but Randallion is a child around Joey's age, and when he's introduced, the themes of like Joey's been a loner and been like friendless for a long time, but tries to start making friends. Rendellion's kind of going the other direction, and he's becoming more loner and becoming more sad and more dark. And it kind of builds on that sort of a theme that's not really paid off till much later, but that is, I'd say that's a theme.
Yeah.
And speaking of the French Revolution, there's a group called the Collective of the Free that's introduced pretty early on in one of the early stories, and that builds on itself, and that's the most political I'll get because
Yeah.
my uncle challenged me to do a political story. I was like, well, fine, I'll pick a dead issue that no one cares about anymore.
Yeah. Best best type of political stuff to do. JR says The Mission is the most visually mind bending movie that he ever
What
saw.
was the movie?
I believe it's called The Mission.
The Mission. I've not heard of it.
Yeah, I can't say I have
Oh,
either, or
oh!
I
You
don't
want
think
to
I
talk
have.
about mind-bending visuals? Oh God, I can't remember the. Can't remember the movie's name, but there's a bunch of them. If anyone in your chat or you is like lame like I am, you'll know of Buster Keaton and his silent film stunts that he did were unbelievable. No special effects.
Okay, Captain Finity says, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Any what? They're communards? I'm not sure whether any communists. I don't think so. This is very
Well, I mean, communards is calling them a like a slur and then adding commune in front of it. I get the joke.
yeah. And he says storming of the Basilisk
Bastille,
Bastille.
the
Rob
prison in France that the peasants stormed, and then the soldiers came, if I remember, but sided with the peasants.
Robespierre, Rataspear. He said,
Robespierre,
and then he
I think.
puts rat in front of it instead of the
Oh,
Robespierre.
oh, oh my God! Why didn't I think of that? I may go back and change that
And
because
then
that's really good.
oh, this page looks pretty good here. I like this page a lot. I just grabbed it and I didn't completely know what it looked like. We have page 32 up here.
H, is that the one where he like the with the glowing eyes?
Yeah, it looks that way.
32. Oh no. Oh yeah. The one before that, I think is let's say no. 29 is when yeah. A lot of people like 29 too.
Okay, JR says, no, you have completely misunderstood. No joke at all. This is Captain Finity. JR says, every Christian artist must see the mission with Jeremy Irons and Robert De Niro.
Oh, is that the new one that came out, or am I thinking of something else? Is that the
Okay,
trafficking movie?
I'm not sure. Hopefully he can
I don't.
answer.
I don't go to the movies much.
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. He says I'm a non-Christian, but the mission is best movie ever. And then Captain Finney says the Communards were a major group in the French Revolution.
Uh, oh, I. Oh my God! If that's and I went to the trouble of coming up with a whole nother group name when that would have been perfect.
Captain Finity also says the rat to spear joke will be $150.
Yeah, I thought about that. I don't think I'll use it without permission because I think that's too good to just take from someone.
So you said page 29 people really like.
Yeah.
Here, I should be able to get that up for people to see.
Actually, going back to the symbol thing, there I do a lot of symbols for my characters, so I think I'll show you some of the ones from the French Revolutionary type story if I can find it on my phone. Nope, that's not it.
Why does this not want to open?
Okay, here we go. We're talking about like communists. Can you see this on my? I don't know if it shows up very well.
Okay, let me click StreamYards
No, I
and
don't think that's showing up too well. Now it is.
yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see that. It's on your phone. A couple hammers. Not sure what else
It's a,
there is.
it's called I call it the worker's skull. So it's got sort of socialist communist imagery, but it's got some Kentucky flavor to it, where it's got a horseshoe and a pickaxe for the coal mines added, and
cool.
it's all in the shape of a skull. And spoilers, communists are the bad guys. Also,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to say that, but these days I think I do. Uh, I don't think that's too controversial, though. I don't know.
Here's page 29. I just brought that up for people to see. And let's try and get the chat back up here. Oh, I am gay. You want on, John? I'll send you the link. Normally, with doing it in Discord, anybody that wants to come on and give a couple comments can.
Well,
uh,
while you're doing all that, I'll go ahead and read the bad guy bar, the wrath skiller I showed you the symbol to. I'll read you the bar's slogan that I came up with. Come and swap stories before everyone drinks away the memories of those very tales.
there, John. I sent you the Streamyard link. Okay, so that sounds
So
cool.
I answered your question about the superhero. What's your favorite superhero?
Oh, mine. It's hard to. I've got it nailed down to five. um, Superman, Wolverine, Batman, Spider Man, and Green
So
Lantern.
the
Kylo Ren.
mainstream ones.
Yeah.
I name
Well,
mainstream ones too, I
well,
guess.
I mean, besides mine, like
Oh
the.
yeah, but yeah, I can't say Naruto's pretty mainstream too. So
Hey, John.
hey,
Hey,
smoking character.
Piper, how are you,
I
new
am good.
friend?
I am good. This is Gifford, right? Gifford.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I almost put out my hand to shake his hand before realizing
It's only
this
a
is on a
screen.
screen.
So you go by Gifford. That's what you go by.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
So, are you also from Canada?
Nah,
He's from
I'm
L.A.
from the I'm from
Oh,
the
okay, I've heard
yeah
of that.
I'm from Southern California area.
So you ever been to America?
He's in
Yeah.
America.
That was an anti-California joke.
I used to be a truck driver. I've been all over this great nation.
That's cool.
Captain Finity says, "Go ahead. I'll be honored." So you can have the the rasp beer thing. JR says the communards did not appear until the Franco-Prussian War in 1866. Prussia defeated
That would be
Napoleon.
under Napoleon III, wouldn't it?
Yes, he was just
Would it?
saying. Yeah, Prussia defeated Napoleon III, and Paris disposed of Napoleon III, and former Paris Commune, first something communist government. Captain Finity says, "I never thought of the ard suffix being an insult. Assault. What do you think, Dillard?"
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, to be honest.
Communist and retard kind of combined is what it sounds like.
Oh yeah, we used to do that all the time in high school.
Yeah, but I mean now.
Yeah,
things have changed.
you just throw tard on the end of anything, and it makes it an insult.
JR says alternate French government to cooperate with the Prussians to defeat revolutionary Communard government. JR says Karl Marx praised Paris Communards, but secretly was critical. Captain Finity says, "At JR, I stand corrected. Back to the Prussian history books for me." So, anything you would like to say or ask, John?
I mean, I'm open to answering any Franco-Prussian War questions I got.
The
Even
thing
though
is,
I don't know anything.
I'm a Hispanic, so I really don't know or care about any kind of white history.
Well, Hispanic is by definition originally white. I mean, at least the Hispanic language.
You seem to be woefully unfamiliar with Californian Hispanics.
No, I'm just saying that Hispanic comes from Spain.
Yeah, but
language,
as
at
a
least.
Californian, I couldn't care about anything. That's typical of Californians. We just don't care about anything.
That is true.
And being a Mexican, I care even less about things that are not directly about me, especially those Spanish colonizers that came and
Oh yeah,
bred with our women.
There's a dark history there between the colonizers in that country and the people.
You know, I'm half white, Rick. And being a Hispanic that is not a jungle Hispanic, right? I'm not a native South American, North American. I didn't fall out of a tree yesterday.
I feel like this is going somewhere bad. I'm not trying to make any racial comments.
No,
I want that stricken from the record.
This is just typical Dillard.
I couldn't care less. There's no way in the world I could care less.
You can try.
I care even less than what I care right now, which is not at all.
Okay, so besides that stuff, anything about the book or the creator?
Well, he said specifically the questions needed to be directed about the Franco-Prussian War. I don't have any idea what the hell that is.
No, I don't think he just said he could answer anything on those.
No, I could make up any answer that's probably not true.
He didn't say you
any answer he gives me, I can't fact check it. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to look it up.
I'm pretty sure the Franco-Prussian War was started by Kermit the Frog. I'm fairly certain.
Okay,
and frog is French, right? See, it sounds true to me.
Probably. Frog legs and all.
Okay, but on the subject of the book, Dynamic Rodent, or the creating of Dynamic Rodent, or the creator?
No, I mean, I just want to know. I just kind of want. I've only been listening for about 20 minutes. I haven't been listening the whole time, so I don't want to like rehash if you've already went over stuff.
Well, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, that's all right, John.
Like, I wanted to just kind of get a quick like synopsis of what it is. Like, if you could compare this book to something else, like a particular age bracket, is it like a Captain Underpants type book, or is it more like a young adult, or is it a, Just a,
Okay,
just kind of like I just want like an overview of what it is.
I'd say you want an overview. 9-year-old gets in an accident, becomes a mouse boy human, and when instead of going to the hospital, stupidly decides to become a superhero, and hijinks and violence and sadness ensue. Now the age range is in there. I leave that up to the reader and the reader's parents, but I do always promise there'll never be any sex or nudity or any cursing in any of the stories. There will be violence.
Yeah. Violence is part of life.
And hello, Massive Panda. What's up? We are just talking. Me and Dillard now are talking with Gifford. Uh, I'm not sure whether you've got a comic company name yet, but we're talking about his book Dynamic Rodent. With him about his book Dynamic Rodent, which is it looks pretty good. I've read about half of it at this point. I'll probably be doing a review in a couple days after I finish going through it for my channel. A non-spoiler review.
Spoiler, I sent him a copy of both of them in both issues, and they never showed up.
Yeah, well, the first time you've sent...
And now I sent it a second time.
Yeah. If it doesn't come the second time, well, but hopefully it does, don't worry about sending it again.
I mean, that gets expensive by the third time.
Yeah. And I don't, I was even hesitant for you to sending it the second time because, like you said,
well, I thought I'd send it a second time because I felt, I mean, things do happen, things can get lost in the mail.
Yeah.
And I would like you to have, especially since you're doing this interview, I thought it would be a nice gift at least to give you physical copies of the comic.
Oh, yeah.
If they can ever arrive.
Yeah. It would have been nice. But Rick Piper is notorious for failing to receive things that are sent to him.
Oh, that's baloney, Dillard, and you know it.
So what I was asking you earlier was like, what's something that you read, like a book that you read or a movie that you saw that you were so jazzed about that you were like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard, read, saw, whatever, that I have to tell somebody about it?
I'm not, I don't want to get controversial, but I feel like there's no other answer to this. I'd have to say the thing that I read that I got jazzed about and feel like I have to tell people about, it's honestly the Bible.
Right.
Cool.
That cessation, that period of time, especially that period of time, like if you ever decided, I don't know if you have or not, but if you ever do decide to like turn your life over to Christ, like that period of time when you're like on fire, right? Like that, oh, I got to tell people about this. Like that's kind of what I want to hear about. Like, what's so special about this book? I want somebody to tell me what's so special about
what's
this book.
What's so special about it?
In that way, like if you're on fire for it,
Okay, well, let me see if I'm answering this correctly. I'd say a lot of it's kind of like some parts are a fictionalized version of my life, and I can really relate to the characters' struggle to try and find friends and try to make friends, and how things go horribly wrong when you try to do right sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I like my life, no matter how hard I try, there's gonna be hilariously weird situations that arise. So, and that's sort of the comic. For instance, I went to visit a friend when I was back in town when I was living outside of the state. And apparently an off-duty CIA agent followed me from one county to the other and then parked next to me in my dad's driveway. I asked him, why have you been following me? And he said, you're drunk. I was like, I'm what? He's like, you're slurring your speech. No, I'm not. I had a cold. That's why I went home early. And next thing I know, there was like 5 police cars surrounding me, and my dad came out in a bathrobe in the middle of the night. So that was a weird, hilarious, uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I could believe so.
I never thought I'd be pulled over. The guy from the CIA would follow me with his little kid in the car.
Yeah.
But that was Yeah, like the comic, weird things happen in my life too. I've never been turned into a mouse boy that I know of.
That you know. So does that answer your question, John?
Do you think it answered my question?
I'm
Oh
asking you.
gosh, this is like philosophy class all over again.
You asked me, did it answer my question like I'm being some sort of an asshole for asking a question? What the heck,
No,
Rick?
no, no. I'm just trying to make sure you're satisfied with the answer.
Why don't you come over here and satisfy me with your left hand? How about that?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have watch a live stream of a fight now.
No, I just wanted to know because there's some stories that I like telling. Um, I myself I do comics sometimes, and I'm a storyteller. And like sometimes I'll tell stories, and it's almost like when you get like an opportunity. I have nothing but daughters, right? Um, so it's rare that I have a chance to actually share a story with a boy. So my nephew comes over, and when he comes over, and he's at that age around 11, 12. And when I'm hanging out with him, we're making a bonfire or something. There's a story I really want to get across to him, and I'll be like, "No, shut up and listen. You need to hear this." And that's kind of how I take the reins with the stories that I make. It's like a story that somebody needs to shut up and listen because you really need to hear this because this is important. This is good, and I just want to know if you had that same feeling about the stories that you're telling.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to get at.
Yeah. Like I'll throw an example that no one will read for a long, long time because it's from one of the later stories. But the character remembers back to when his mom died, and I use an example from my own life. How he mentioned how I remembered after my mom died as a kid. I used to be able to, in my childhood home, I could see the kitchen, like, because the house had a turn to it, and it was a 90-degree angle. So I could see the kitchen from my bed. And I remember my mom would always have the lights on when she was and she'd stay up late doing stuff in the kitchen. So after she died, I would go to the kitchen and turn on the light and go to bed.
Cool.
I thought that was a powerful. I mean, it
And
was.
that's something you're actually incorporating into the story. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's good.
Another more humorous thing is one of the stories encapsulates what it was like when my dad took over for one day of soccer, for a soccer game. Like the coach couldn't play or couldn't be there, so my dad was the temporary coach, and I incorporate this into the story too, a much later one. Joey in the story is like his dad's coach, like my dad, and Joey wants to play, and like in real life, he is told, "No, we want to win, don't we? We can't let you play." Still can't believe my dad said that to me in front of everyone.
Oh yeah.
It's brutal.
Captain Finity says that's why I love this Rick Piper show and Critical Blast.
Hey Rick, you want to
You
see this
gotta come
drawing
here.
I'm
You
doing of
come
a
for the
horse
comics,
getting
stay
punched
for
in the
the
face?
Franco-Prussian War.
I'm really happy with it. I haven't drawn a horse getting punched in the face before, and
I guess
pretty
we can
exciting.
show that quick before we end here. Captain Finity says, "I want to hear why I should care about your book."
Well, I'm assuming you're talking about me.
Yeah.
I'd say that if you want a story that can tug at the heartstrings and make you laugh, as well as give you some drama and some action, give you an idea of what it's like to grow up lonely and trying to make friends, I think this series will be good for that. There's triumphs and success. There's triumphs and failures, and it's a slice of life where a kid tries to become a superhero, and that's also a thing.
Yeah. Kids dream about that, right? Becoming superheroes.
I did.
I did a bit too. Okay, so there's the horse being socked in the face by the buffalo. and everybody can. Well, we can see it's not super big. Here, let me make it bigger.
Oh, there's the fist. I see it. Yeah. More of a punch
It'll be
than a
easier to
slap.
see when it's in color, but yeah.
It's more of a punch than a slap.
Yeah,
No,
he's punching.
it is a punch. Yeah, yeah.
There.
It kind of look. I like the arts, the kind of a cartoony art style.
Yeah. Well, that's just this book that he's doing. He's done other books. In fact,
Yeah, yeah. Don't talk about me. Talk about dynamic rodent, Rick.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, always talk about dynamic road, no matter what you're doing.
yeah. So we'll put dynamic rodent back up here. So we've been going just over an hour now. We've showed off the book. We've gotten to know the creator somewhat. Any last comment or whatever that you might want to say to try and get people to go over
Well,
to?
I'd encourage people to give it a try. I put the digital version really cheap and affordable so people can check it out. It
Yeah,
is a little more expensive. It's $5 to buy the print version, but I highly recommend people check it out. And, I mean, some people they don't haven't liked it. Some people do. I'd say give it a try and judge for yourself. It's
yeah,
about the price of a soda. So if you get the digital version, so
yeah,
it's worth trying out. I'd say.
yeah. And $5, well, plus whatever shipping is for whomever, for the physical copy.
Hey, printing comics ain't cheap.
True, true.
No,
Well,
it's not.
he's going through the on demand, which is a good way to get it out there too.
Did you say get it out there?
Yes, I said get it out there.
Ah.
My Canadian accent came through, eh?
Now, I think what he meant to say was get it out there for those
Yeah.
of you in the chat.
Captain Finity says, Dillard, are you going live next?
No.
And JR says, might try the digital. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and of course these are in American funds too, because well,
And soon, I don't know when it's up to the website, but soon the second issue will be hopefully put online.
cool.
Still don't know if I'm on the screen,
Yeah, you're
but
on this screen.
if not, you can just imagine a second cover.
What is he punching? MSG? What is that?
That's an. Let me mention that before we go. Definitely, that symbol's also in the first issue, subtly in some places. That's the salt shaker symbol of one of the gangs, the villainous gang, Martin Stevens gang. And I realized later on, after I created that name for the gang, I was like, huh, it's also like monosodium glutamate. So I'll make their symbol a salt shaker.
That's
I
clever.
thought that was
like
pretty
that.
clever.
Yeah.
And then they're also called knuckleheads sometimes. NaCl for salt. I like that too.
Captain Finity says again, Dillard, when are you going live? Open-ended question.
Oh, 4 o'clock my time.
Okay, so about an hour from now.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, I want to thank Dillard for coming on, and thank Gifford for coming on too. Hope you
Anytime.
enjoyed this. And I'm going to extend, if you ever get Discord, there's a link in usually most of my live streams. You can get in there, and whenever I go live, you feel free to come on, you know.
Sure.
So with that, we're going to say, and thank the chat for coming out, and go
Thank
check
you
out
very much, guys, for commenting and asking me questions.
and thanks everybody for coming by. Go check out the book. The link is at the top. We'll catch you all later. Bye for now. God bless. Love you all.